God, what am I doing? I know I'm gonna get mad today, so I'm just like trying to get some of that goofy energy out at the top. Then I'll stay cool, calm, collected when I'm reading about how The Shining is one of the most boring movies ever made. Hello and welcome to my own personal slice of hell. I am the Antichrist. I am actually Satan's favorite daughter. Therefore, I have elected to start my own online internet cult, and you may join by clicking subscribe. If you want to hear me talk about all things horror, particularly reacting to terrible reviews of my favorite horror films, then also click the like button and the notification bell, that way you never miss the next video. There are certain things we must do for the algorithm gods if they want to treat us with favor. Today is gonna be so goddamn brutal. I have been doing a series reacting to bad reviews of my favorite horror films. I started with the 1950s. I have now done the 1960s and the 1970s. With the 1980s, it is an entirely different beast. I am breaking up this decade into 3 different parts. Today, I'll be covering movies from 1980 to 1982, which will be including Friday the 13th, The Fog, The Shining, An American Werewolf in London, My Bloody Valentine, Evil Dead, The Slumber Party Massacre, The Thing, and Poltergeist. Some of my favorite movies of all time are all just within the first 3 years of the 1980s. So you're starting to understand. Then part 2 will be 1983 through 1985, and then I'll finish it off with 1986 through 1989. I have a feeling I'm gonna be doing something similar for the rest of the decades because there are also so many 90s, 2000s, 2010s horror movies that I love. It's actually kind of stupid. I could even do 2 parts for the 2020s at this point. But in an effort to neither dilly nor dally, let's pull up some of the bad reviews for Friday the 13th. Oh, also worth mentioning that I do think that I want to do dedicated videos to like reacting to bad reviews of the Halloween franchise, bad reviews of the Friday the 13th franchise, because otherwise, if I included all those franchise titles, we would be here just all damn day. So I think that I need to break those apart as well, especially because they also span so many different decades. But what we do, we pull up the movie on Letterboxd and we set the range of ratings from a 0.5 star to 1 star, and then we just go crazy from there. One of the most important discoveries every cinephile makes is that this iconic horror classic is fucking terrible. And you know, in all fairness, I am going to be talking about this in the next installment of Were These Horror Movies Bad or Was I 12? So I'm not going to get into my reviews here, but I didn't like Friday the 13th when I first watched it either, okay? But some of us grow up. Me and my brother have never laughed so much watching a movie, LOL, which brings me to the big question. Which is worse, the movie or the poster? Wait, what's wrong with the poster? What's wrong with the poster? The poster's awesome. What are you talking about? Oh wait, I think that I have it set to a custom poster because you can do that when you're a patron on Letterboxd. Honestly, what is wrong with this poster? What's wrong with it? Is this not better than the Marvelification of literally every poster in existence now? We're still not getting handmade posters for the majority of films that come out. You would do well to respect the artwork of our elders' favorite horror films. It's not me calling Gen X elders. Anyway, I kept praying someone would come out and stab me just so I could feel something while watching this. The drama I got into on Twitter was more entertaining than this movie. Goodness. We are cooked. We are truly cooked. Get out your bingo cards, okay, for somebody doing some posturing of like, guys, look, normally I can give credit where it's due. I am perfectly capable of giving credit where credit is due when it comes to slasher films. While they might not be my cup of tea, I think I can discern which ones are good, which ones are bad, and which ones have not one single redeeming quality. I don't think my father, the owner of Toaster Strudel, would be very happy to hear about this. I don't know why I just thought of that. Friday the 13th falls into the latter category. This film is so bad, it pushes the boundaries of what we can call a movie. While Halloween may have kickstarted a genre, that's not even true, and A Nightmare on Elm Street may have done clever things with that genre, there's nothing commendable about this monotonous, laughable dreck. This is what people who hate horror movies point to in order to justify writing off an entire genre. A pulpy, stupid bloodfest that ends with a boring and uncreative twist. I got absolutely no enjoyment out of this film whatsoever. Pulpy, stupid bloodfest. There's barely any blood in this movie. I think that the most graphic moment is with Kevin Bacon, right? Does Friday the 13th really have the same like mixed up reputation as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Like just because that's the title and just because Friday the 13th is one of the most famous slashers, people are like, it's just so gory, it's abominable. And it's like, that's just not even true. I suppose that if nothing else, this franchise seems to have embraced its silliness, though I haven't slogged through through any of the sequels to this film, which are now 12 in number, just wait for that 13th installment, they appear to wade even deeper into the muck of self-parody, but self-parody is no excuse for how uninventive the first installment is. It's a blatantly lazy film that capitalized off the success of Halloween without a shred of creativity or originality to spare. That's not true. We had never gotten the mom killer plot before. What did this film inspire? Sequels, I suppose, and Halloween costumes. But aside from nostalgia, Friday the 13th's cult status is completely unearned. The acting is bad, even for a low-budget slasher. You kinda got me there. The premise is eye-roll inducing, and even the visuals aren't really worthy of recognition. There are no memorable deaths or even scares. And the cinematography in general is extremely bland. While I can understand the love for Halloween even though I disagree with it, there is no excusing this moronic, unpleasant imitator. What a waste of my time. Also in the comments they're saying that final twist is a Psycho ripoff, and that's literally just not true. That is absolutely unequivocally just not true. Like, it's when people say things like that I'm like, we literally did not watch the same film. By the way, I only have patience to read like one long review per movie because these take me a long time to shoot and I just like literally don't have the fucking time. But it's valuable because generally these people will like hit on all of the major points, like the points of complaint that people have. And then anybody else who also writes an essay will just be saying the exact same thing. Like, you all have no original thoughts. You're all just parroting each other. So I don't want to hear a like, oh, I ain't reading all that, ass girl. Like, what are you doing? Why aren't you reading the long ones? That's why nobody has original thoughts. No memorable deaths. What are you talking about? The arrow through the throat? I will never forget that. And the it's not the same as Psycho. It's literally not the same at all. How could you even say something like that? I gotta move on. I'm not getting into the whole thing, but I think it's funny that this person compared watching Friday the 13th after Halloween to like dining on a beautiful bolognese at Rouse and then going home and heating up a can of SpaghettiOs, or puffing a nice Cuban Romeo y Julieta, then sparking a Swisher Sweet, or watching a good movie and then watching a shitty one. You know this person holds themselves in like really high regard concerning their taste, and I just think that that's mistake number one. Nobody likes a fucking snob. We just don't live in that world anymore. We don't live in the world where what critics say in the newspaper is the end-all be-all of like the quality of the film. We just don't live in that world, so I think that's lame. But also, I don't know what Rouse is. Maybe I'm too poor to know what that restaurant is, but you order a bolognese there? You go to a nice, classy Italian restaurant and you order bolognese. I'm sorry if you do that, but I just think that's corny. Like, I'm sure that there are so many better, more intricate, different dishes that you could try. But then you want to act all high and mighty comparing that to SpaghettiOs? You go to a nice restaurant and you order the adult version of SpaghettiOs. I don't understand. But also, a lot of these criticisms that people are making about it just being a sorry ripoff of Halloween, it's actually true. And people that don't live in reality have been in my comment section and have gotten really angry when I've said things like that. But I love Friday the 13th. It doesn't make that not true. I did a whole deep dive of the original and of the remake, so if you want to go and watch that, I believe that I feature an interview literally with Sean S. Cunningham, either him or Victor Miller, literally saying, I was copying Halloween. That was literally the intention. You don't need to be mad about it. If you love Friday the 13th and you feel like you need to defend it or something, you don't. It's okay. Like, it's not an inherently bad thing. It doesn't mean that your favorite horror movie is like morally reprehensible or something. Chill out. Chill out. This movie was so bad. Like, where was Jason? I wish I could put into words what this review specifically makes me feel. What do you mean? How are you gonna dog on a movie where adult Jason didn't even exist yet? I can't fathom this being a legitimate complaint. You know what you're walking into, right? Or are you some crazy person that watched the franchise entirely out of order and you somehow had no idea that Jason wasn't gonna be the killer in the original film? How do we get here? How do we get here where this is the criticism? I don't even know what just made this click for me, by the way, but I just thinking back to the long review that I read, the cinematography is uninspiring. The cinematography is the best in the original movie of the entire franchise. I could see why you'd be saying that if you're thinking about like Friday the 13th Part 3, where he shoots like a, what is it, like a harpoon gun? Or no, it's like a regular arrow and it's coming straight at the camera and whoa. If you really think that that is more inspired than the gorgeous lakeside scenery that we see in the original film, then you just like bells and whistles. You just like gimmicks. Hello. Dead internet theory? What is this? And just when I thought that the film had no plot, Friday the 13th provided me with an absolutely ridiculous exposition dump 15 minutes before the film ended. After that, I was waiting for someone to say, and I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids. How is this a horror classic? classic? What do you mean exposition dump 15 minutes before the film ended? It's called a motive reveal. Villains have monologued since the dawn of time. When Billy's going on and on about how you're the reason why my parents broke up and stuff, do you call that an exposition dump? Get a grip. A lot of people calling it boring. I don't think that I'm gonna include those reviews in these videos anymore. I just can't. It's not good for my spirit. There are a lot of people in the reviews talking about how dare they kill a snake, and I'm right there with ya. To me personally though, I just think that's an insane thing to discount the entire movie for. Film practices were very different back then, especially with these low-budget slashers. Like, there just was not as much regulation. You could never in a million years do that anymore. So to me, it kind of feels like the outrage is wasted, because already we are in a place societally where that shit would never fly. Happy Friday the 13th, this movie sucks. Alright, I think that's a great note to end on. Why don't we move on now to The Fog. John Carpenter's The Fog. I'm sleepy. Oh, all caps. This sucks. So boring and nothing happens. Also, multiple people here in a row saying that the last 10 minutes were fine. This movie is like 90% foreplay, and then you finally get to come, and it's the most underwhelming orgasm of your life. Conceptually, The Fog is nothing but super intriguing and awesome, an ominous rolling fog foretelling the invasion of ancient ghost pirates here for revenge. But in reality, it's not even close to as cool as it sounds. I usually love Carpenter's films, or at least like them, but this is the only one I really didn't so far. The score was incredible though. The two main leads were horrible, and I genuinely disliked Tom Atkins and could care less for Jamie, sorry. There is some good here, but I wish the pirate invasion was the focus and there was a little more action. I felt like everything was there to make a classic horror film, but it just didn't add up in the end. I've had that happen to me where I'm like, all the ingredients for the soup are there, and yet it's just not clicking, but that doesn't happen for me personally with The Fog. I do agree though that I'm not that into the leads. Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis, they're so bland, I still don't understand why they hook up. That is very much a mystery to me, but who I really love in the movie is Adrienne Barbeau. And then of course I love Nancy Loomis. More like the slog, because this thing fucking sucks. That's kind of funny. More like the slog. That's, you kind of gotta give it to him. I hate John Carpenter and all his films. It's always the same exercise in insignificance and dullness, plagued by the same singular, insufferable, self-restrained camp touch that would make a clown cry. Sloppily put together with its contrived execution, sluggish pacing, unengaging characters, trivial and drawn-out conversations, awkward confrontations, absurd situations, cheesy plots, and repetitive and interminable drums that cripple your ears. It's no surprise The Fog is no different. Yes, I lied. I like a couple of his, but saying so would ruin my first sentence. That felt like slam poetry. That was nuts. 1 star for the dude who took the middle urinal out of 3 in the men's after this movie. Seriously, what the fuck? I second that. What the hell? Also, somebody told me that when you give a movie a heart, it retroactively goes back and gives all your reviews of the movie a heart, but I don't think that's true. I came upon some movie that I had watched where that wasn't the case. Like, I don't know if that's a new feature and only from a certain point onward that's gonna happen. I don't know if that's true. Then we've got a long list of just awful film. This movie was doo-doo, boring, sorry, bored out of my mind, fell asleep, couldn't see anything. Why can't you? Skill issue. Skill issue. This isn't even a particularly dark film. You know what? Let's move on to The Shining. I am actually wearing my Stanley Hotel t-shirt today. I went there back in 2021 when my nephew was born. My cousin lived in Denver, and I don't wear it a lot, but now it's very relevant. This thing is rated like it's live footage of the second coming of Christ and proof of life beyond death, yet it is an exercise in misery for all deciding to spare 16 hours to watch this dreadful mishmash of somehow both too much and nothing at all. I know I goofed on that a little bit, but I felt like I needed to keep trucking on. The second coming of Christ. Guys, we have someone listing plot holes. I don't know why that's exciting to me, but I'm just, what are they gonna say? Okay, 1, why isn't the hotel in lockdown? Like, why are there so many people in the restaurant, and why aren't they wearing masks? They must be anti-maskers. So they watched this in October of 2020. 2, why hasn't Jack been canceled? He's clearly the imposter. 3, why did the woman in the bathroom suddenly become old? You can't turn old in a matter of minutes. 4, why did Jack go in room 237? They clearly said don't go in. 5, why was there a woman still at the hotel? The staff didn't clear it properly. 6, the Overlook Hotel isn't even real. What the fuck is this shit? 7, why didn't they show Tony's face? He clearly is the best character. 8, why didn't the left twin get enough screen time? She's the second best character. 9, where were the Avengers during all of this? 10, why were there so many shots from Ready Player One and Dr. Sleep in this movie? This movie is a ripoff. 11, why were there a lot of people in Dick's flight? Isn't there a pandemic right now? 12, why was Danny writing Red Rum? What the fuck does that mean? 13, why was Jack typewriting all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy? What's he writing? The screenplay of Chinatown? 14, why did Jack say here's Johnny? His name is Jack, not Johnny, LMAO. 15, Wendy, Yosun ain't even in the hotel, LMFAO. no. Hashtag cancel Jack. So I think this is obviously ironic. They gave it a half-star rating and a heart, so this is probably someone that loves the movie and just was making it funny. That's nice. That's a good note to start on. That was a nice reprieve from the more serious anger that often comes through with these reviews. Seriously though, why were there so many shots from Dr. Sleep and Ready Player One in this movie? Has anybody talked about this? Shelley Duvall didn't deserve to be traumatized for life just for 144 minutes of incoherent and pretentious spooky nonsense. This is something that in her lifetime she actually did go on to talk about, and I don't believe that she felt that she lived with trauma from this film. If I'm remembering correctly, the woman that ran the like Shelley Duvall fan account on Twitter and, you know, was in charge of kind of keeping up with the Shelley Duvall archive or whatever she did. Don't quote me, quote her, okay? But she looked back on working with Stanley Kubrick with fondness. I mean, obviously what she went through is insane, but if the woman herself is gonna look back with fondness, then I don't think it's up to us to be like, no, lady, you were traumatized. All work and no play makes this film boring as fuck. Sorry, I guess that I'm just too pretty to enjoy this. Fans of The Shining are historically gremlins, so I guess that tracks. He said, here's Johnny, but his name is Jack. People are so stupid! I understand, like, okay, listen, the first time that I watched this movie, did I even know who Johnny Carson was? I don't know. I don't think so, but it makes me cringe out of my skin when people make jokes that they think is making them look really smart, when in fact it's making them look dumb. Because why don't you just look it up? Why don't you just look it up and not with fucking Chat GPT? Look it up on Google. Why does he say, here's Johnny in The Shining? Or ask your parents who might have grown up with Johnny Carson. And like, I guess trying to get out my energy in the beginning of this video didn't really work so well for me. Honestly, this film is so overrated. I'm the kind of person to get jump scared by something like the opening of a door, and there wasn't anything about this movie that was remotely scary. I was seconds away from falling asleep. There's no character development from Jack that shows how or why he goes crazy. The pacing is super slow from the very start, and it's so tedious to watch. Also, Jack's acting isn't as good as everyone says it is. Even the score is basic, playing the same theme over and over, just becoming increasingly obnoxious, giving it an extra half star for being visually pleasing. I hate this movie. Okay, several things. I'm the kind of person to get jump scared like the opening of a door, and there wasn't anything about this movie that was remotely scary. Okay, so you like jump scares. So you like jump scares. Is that your only qualifier for something being scary? We've already been over many times in this series how if you don't get scared of a movie, that is no indicator of its quality. But if you really reduce what's scary in a film simply to jump scares, that's not good. What about tension, you know? What about building tension that leads to the feeling of dread? There are different types of scary. Seconds away from falling asleep, again, are you a baby? The one thing that I do agree with is that there is no character development from Jack, because in the book that is explored so much better. I hold equal reverence for both the book and I prefer the book a little bit more, because the book is like one of the greatest portraits of addiction and succumbing to it that I personally have ever experienced. Now, I'm not an addict. I don't know. Maybe there's an argument for like Requiem for a Dream or something. I don't know. That is one thing that I agree with though, but it's just something about the movie that is maybe not necessarily worse or better than the book. It's just different. It's just different. Also, complaining that playing the same theme over and over, like, that's what a score is. That's what a theme is. John Carpenter's Halloween, Jaws, playing the same thing over and over. Oh no. This movie is terrible. We don't see any of the characters ever take a shit. The movie is completely unrealistic, the acting is awful, and Steve Buscemi isn't in it. If you want to see an actually good movie, watch the 1997 remake of The Shining. I have actually tried to do that before, and I'm a fan of Mick Garris, but I didn't make it through that one. I really wanted to do like a deep dive comparison of the original movie to the remake, I don't know, the made-for-TV version. But then I never got through it, did I? 5-star movie, but it sent me to the hospital, so in this case, half a star. In the comment section, he elaborated, I thought I had a heart attack. Turns out the old heart is fine, but the cause of my episode is currently question marks. This is something that is actually explored in Insidious: The Red Door, where it usually happens to men. They think that something is physiologically wrong with their body, but they just need to go to therapy, like they just have anxiety. The Shining, more like the shitting. I had diarrhea for weeks after watching this terribly unrelieved movie? Unrelieved, what does that even mean? The negative bitch, I have questions. Caretaker of the hotel, my ass. Wendy Torrance is the only one taking care of this hotel. Wendy Torrance is the only one doing anything in this movie. That's real. That's true. I'm only on the 3rd movie of the day. I really need to up my pace, but you can see why I have to break up this decade into 3 videos. This is one of the most overhyped films I've had the misfortune of watching. Didn't get scared a bit. The acting was crap sack. The score got to my nerves, and the story was so shit that I was bored to tears. I tried to read up on theories, but that made me even more confounded, and made me detest this shit show even more. Symbolism is fine by me. me, see Midsommar, but not at the cost of absence of plot. For me, this is one of those classics, the one which everyone loves to death while you think there's something wrong with you because you didn't get it. Then you realize it doesn't matter, so you move on. TLDR, one of the worst movies I've ever watched, even without the hype. Well, you can't say that because no matter the context, you would have known the hype going in. Didn't get scared, you know how I feel about that. Symbolism is fine by me, but not at the cost of absence of plot. Boy, do I have some bad news for you. Like, not every movie has a lot of plot. In fact, there are so many great movies that don't really have one. One of my top 4, Dazed and Confused. I don't think there's much of a plot there. Evil Dead 2. What's the plot there? Like, Ash is just dealing with all the hijinks of the Evil Dead. So I feel like a lot of the times people try to rationalize why they dislike a movie so hard that they don't realize that what they're saying would apply to other films that they do like. Like the repetitive score thing. Like, do you also dislike Halloween and Jaws? Some people really do hate Kubrick, whether it's about like Shelley Duvall or whatever. Yellow Poster reminds me of P, 0 out of 10. And that is where we will leave The Shining today. An American Werewolf in London, I probably won't spend quite as much time on because it's not one of my ultimate favorites of all time. I do really like it. I have done an entire deep dive on this channel if you want to go back and check that out. May I simply ask, what the fuck did I just watch? No, you may not. I honestly don't know what people see in this movie. I've had a straight face the whole time while this movie tried to attempt comedy. At least with some movies I don't like, I still feel something, rather it be anger or disappointment. Do you mean either? The only thing I can compliment this movie on is that one famous transformation scene that lives up to the hype, but it is so quick and later on in the film I can't really call it a positive. The main character is possibly one of the worst acting I've seen in a long time. Like, I don't know if he was trying to be annoying, was it by accident? I will never watch this again if I can help it. I think that a child wrote this, so I probably shouldn't go in so hard. I just peeped the profile and they're the type of person that says should of instead of should have. The writing is really bad. Yeah, I think this is a kid. But I feel like it's worth pointing out that comedy is so subjective, like maybe the most subjective thing in the entire world. So to blame this movie for it not being funny and then not being able to appreciate a single other thing about it, I think that makes you clinically insane. Oh brother, a film is a tonal mess and riddled with plot and logic holes. I'll tell you what's a logic hole. Why are there like 3 spaces between every period and then the next sentence? What is this weird typing quirk? You see, this movie attacks its goals amateurishly and without any sense of story or sense. You know what doesn't have any sense of sense? The way you type. This movie is fucking terrible. Another perfect example of how nostalgia can cloud even the greatest reviewer's vision. The fact this film has a 3.8 rating on here is a sin. This is one of the most flat, boring, ridiculous films I've ever seen. Perhaps it was popular when it was released back in 1981, but so was homophobia and Thatcher's economic policy. Leave it in the past. Oh my god. Dumb take, because even if a movie is bad, just because people enjoy it doesn't mean that like their vision is clouded or something. It literally just means that they enjoy it. Also, homophobia still feels pretty popular these days, doesn't it? This movie also has a lot to say about like Jewish fears of the time, like the next generation born of the people that survived World War II. It's really worth looking into. So check out my deep dive if you want to hear me go on and on about that. It has so much sex and nudity that I'd rather call it an American Werewolf in a porno. I saw more ass and titties in this movie than actual character development. The only good things about this film were the transformation scenes and the nice use of colors. The red jacket really popped. I just don't get that. Why is this next generation so like puritanical? The only time that I remember there being nudity is when he dips into the adult movie theater, but I don't even really remember the titties that I've seen in this film. Or the ass, for that matter. How is that the most memorable thing? Like, I barely remember that. I remember, I don't know, the fucking werewolf. The way Americans use sex in film is so universally annoying. It's just so weird to me because I'm like, the Italians definitely did it first, and I don't know who did it before the Italians, but Americans are very, very prudish compared to the majority of the world. I don't fully disagree with that because if you go back and you look at like raunchy early 2000s comedies, I'm not really with that. Really not a fan of that type of film, but it's just so crazy that people have this gripe about an American Werewolf in London. Y'all promised this would be hella gay, and it was for like 5 minutes. I'm sorry about that. If anybody got you hyped up in that way, they were wrong. I'm sorry. But you know, gay people lacking representation for a really long time, they had to just kind of create it in the subtext for themselves. So this is one such case. By today's standards, no, it's not very gay. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, people complaining about like the longest sex scene ever, and it's just, I don't know, why are people so opposed to sex? That it's so weird to me. And I will that'll leave us with an American screenwriter in trouble. Next up is My Bloody Valentine, which is one of my favorite slashers of all time. One of my absolute favorite holiday slashers, no doubt. But first, apparently I need to change my camera battery. My Bloody Valentine, I love this movie so much. I just love that it is a rare example of a slasher following regular working class people. I've said that many times. I'm sorry. All the men in this are so ugly. Well, goddamn. What a horrendous thing to say. Valentine 2001 is much better if you were thinking of doing this one. Oh, my eye is gonna twitch. I love Valentine. I love Valentine, but there's no reason to pit two beautiful queens against one another. My Bloody Valentine is also amazing. It's also, I feel like, one of the few slashers where you actually get a lot of really interesting character dynamics and really interesting drama. Like this person saying that 85% filler. Oh my god, and they liked all 3 of my reviews? Who are you? Who are you? Not me finding somebody that follows me. Bare bones cash in on the slasher craze at the time. What about the love triangle? You call a love triangle just filler? What are you out of your mind? The remake does this completely better in every way. No. Nope. No, too many off-screen kills. That's just a taste preference. Transgressively terrible. Ruined my okay day. Transgressive describes something that goes beyond accepted boundaries, rules, or social norms, often in a way that is considered shocking or rebellious. What about this movie is transgressive? Uh-oh. Bingo card? I think this counts for somebody using a big word that they don't understand really how to use it. At least this one's self-aware. Hate to be that guy, but I think I'll stick with the shitty early 2000s Jensen Ackles remake. That movie really is shitty, but at least Tom Atkins is there. I'm disappointed that there was not a single shot of feet. I thought this was supposed to be shoegaze. I am not one to kink shame or fetish shame, but you know what? No, I am. I am when you bring it to your public social media platforms. Don't do that. I don't want to hear about it. I didn't consent to hearing about how you want to see more feet. There were no hot dudes in this to even enjoy. You people are out of your minds. There are very handsome people in this movie. I paused this 6 times to be on my phone when I should have just let this play. We have got bigger fish to fry. The children cannot watch movies. I'm worried for the youth. I'm worried for the youth. Why do teens in 80s movies always have sex in the most inopportune places? A mine shaft? You deserve to die. It's not teens in 80s movies. It's teens in general. They're also not even teenagers, but if you're making a point about teens, most teenagers, I would say, you know, even through high school and everything, like don't want their parents to be aware that they are having sex. So they will be going to the most inopportune places to do it. Like one time I was with my boyfriend senior year and there was this neighborhood that was like under construction. So there wasn't really anybody there. It just was like a bunch of, you know, foundations of houses and just like the wood. And we were like, you know, in his car and a cop rolled up and like caught us and he was like, is this consensual? I was like, yes, yes. God, scared the shit out of me. The point being teens and maybe even young adults will be doing it in the most inopportune places ever. A lot of people saying that the characters are boring and I just disagree. I think it's really similar to John Carpenter's Halloween where these just feel very much like everyday people with everyday problems. And yeah, maybe they don't like stand out a whole lot, but to me that's one reason why this movie does. How are you a slasher movie and half your kills are off screen? So I actually have done a deep dive of this movie as well, and I share a lot of the footage of the director talking about the scenes that were cut, and unfortunately some of them have actually been lost to time. Like we will never get the bloodier extended cut of My Bloody Valentine. A true tragedy. Like it's such a bummer, whether it be because film doesn't store well and so it gets exposed to heat and it gets ruined. It's really flammable, so sometimes there are fires, or sometimes people just like literally lose the film. Like it could be in a warehouse somewhere, or I don't know. I forget the actual story of what happened with My Bloody Valentine, but the director would agree with you on that. Like he shot some amazing, really bloody kills. But anyway, I think that it's now time to move on to The Evil Dead. Once again, much like in my 70s video, I have to go back and share my bad reviews of The Evil Dead. I didn't log it the first time I ever watched it, but the second and third times I did, and I only gave the movie 2 stars. This movie is so annoying. I was hoping Evil Dead Rise would change my perspective a bit. Oops. And then And finally, I've seen the light. I'm not gonna be a hypocrite, I'm gonna share my bad reviews. I used to really have a problem with all of the laughing in the film and how high-pitched it is and how many times it happens where his girlfriend will like get repossessed and then start cracking up. Just cannot stand it. And in fact, I think still to this day, I have to turn it down when she's laughing because the pitch of it starts to turn my brain into goop. Anyway, one of the more popular negative reviews has 131 likes. Let's see. This is a bloody terrible movie. I really can't understand why this movie is so appreciated by the audience and the critics. Not only does it not deserve such high ratings on film online platforms, but in my opinion, it is one of the worst horror movies I've ever watched. I understand that this is a very old film and that there were not many ways to make a good film at that time. But even at that time, there are cult films which look fantastic. Now what the hell are you talking about? One of the worst horror movies I've ever watched? Okay, then you can't have watched very many movies then. Let's look on their profile. Holy shit! No, they've logged 421 movies this year. All they do is watch movies. Holy fucking hell. They're watching like at least 3 movies a day. What is your life? This is my job, and it's like once in a blue moon when I really need to catch up, yeah, or if I'm sick, yeah, I'll watch 4 movies in a day. What in the holy shit? Wait, you have a lot of followers. Okay, you gotta be some kind of critic or something. I really don't see the point of such films because it is not clear to me what exactly they are supposed to evoke in the viewer. It is filled with pure nonsense and cliches, and to all that, they added bloody scenes in an attempt to make it at least a little interesting, which it certainly isn't. Are you fucking British? Almost every aspect of this movie is truly awful. It can be seen that practical effects were used, and because of this, the overall action does not look very good. The characters are really desperate and very badly performed by the cast, and the film itself is disastrously written. The only aspect I can praise is the costume design and makeup because they really look creepy and well done. The Evil Dead is certainly a terribly bad low-budget film which focuses exclusively on the depiction of the brutality in the creation of horror elements, thus forgetting some important parts of the plot. I hope the sequel is at least a little better. My rating 2 out of 10. I turned British just because like the snobbery was giving me that vibe. It's not clear to me what exactly they're supposed to evoke in the viewer. Oh my god, I didn't like it and I didn't find it funny, so what could anybody be possibly seeing in this movie? Oh my god, I can't step out of my own perspective to save my fucking life. That's what you sound like to me. I'm no saint, okay? It took me 4 viewings to finally love this movie. I was pretty, you know, not stubborn, but I was set on my opinion until my 4th viewing of the film, so I'm no saint, but also I wasn't talking about it like this. Gross. Ugh, I'm so done with horror movies for another year. Dumbest genre. Why do people keep forgetting that I am literally trained to kill? I will hunt you down. I'm gonna check out this person's taste that said that horror is the dumbest genre. They might be a child because they kind of exclusively review stuff like Bolt, Meet the Robinsons, Chicken Little, Home on the Range, Brother Bear, Treasure Planet, Lilo and Stitch, goddamn, Emperor's New Groove, and then the entirety of the Mission Impossible franchise. If you're pretty much exclusively watching children's films all the time, yeah, horror seems like kind of a weird genre to dip into. Several people saying don't trust other people, like do yourself a favor, don't watch it, don't let anyone talk you into watching this movie. Like people are intense about it. And with The Evil Dead, it's something that I can understand just a little bit more than with something like The Shining or My Bloody Valentine. The Evil Dead is definitely not for everybody, but people can't realize that. They're like, my perspective is the only one. Nobody else should watch this. I mean, this is trash. Like, there's just no way. This was so ridiculous, it's hilarious. Do yourself a favor and don't watch this. What did I just say? So ridiculous, it's hilarious. Maybe that's because they were trying to be funny. I don't know. People are so dumb. They think that they're like laughing at something when the rest of us are laughing with it. And I just can't stand you folks. This is nice. I envy the people who saw the good in this movie. That's the attitude. Because that was me for the longest time. I'm like, I don't like this. I think this movie is annoying. Like, I don't find it funny. Try again. Watch it 4 times and then you'll get it. Also, I'm not getting into all the reviews of people saying, how could anybody like this back in 1981 or in the modern day? Like someone going on, like, I get in the 80s, you know, people hype things up because of nostalgia, but I don't see how anybody could like this. Could have liked this. It could have. But I feel like I got into that a lot with the last installment of this series where people are just saying that in a mean-spirited way. If you want to find out why people like it, then consume more of the culture. Then maybe you'll be able to understand and perhaps be less miserable in the process. Because that's what happened to me, like doing the deep dive dive and then watching it with my audience. That really helped me out, but I guess you're just not interested in experiencing that joy. Next up, we have the Slumber Party Massacre, and I really need to pick up the goddamn pace. For me, this is a perfect film. I understand that it's probably not. It's got a 3.0 on Letterboxd. Like, this is not an ultimate classic, but this is one of my absolute favorites. It is so comforting to me. I love everything about it. I love the allegorical nature of the drill. I'm obsessed with this movie. Once again, I have done an original verse remake deep dive on it if you want to watch that. Wait, have I? Hold on. I think I've done a deep dive on literally every movie on my list. No, okay, I haven't done one for The Fog, but I probably covered it a little bit when I did the John Carpenter deep dive. And then I haven't done one on The Thing or on Poltergeist. Everything else I have though. Wait, no, Poltergeist? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did a whole dedicated video on the entire Poltergeist franchise where I like did a ranking of it too. Anyway, okay, let's look at the bad reviews. What is a slasher without titty appearances? People don't know context. This is the first slasher movie ever directed by a woman, and in my deep dive, you will come to learn that even if a woman was so lucky to be able to direct a film, she would essentially be forced to shoot a lot of gratuitous nudity and stuff of women, lest the producer come in and just shoot it for them. So it's better that the woman take agency and like be in charge of shooting the other women than having some skeezy producer come in and do it for them. You know what I mean? Yeah, this isn't even making an attempt to be believable or realistic at all. Just flat out silly. Who fucking cares? Who cares? How miserable are we that we can't just be like, oh, this movie is just trying to be a silly, goofy time. All right, then I'm gonna have a silly, goofy time. Also, another person saying I could care less for any character deaths. That pisses me off so bad. I know that like colloquially that is very much accepted, but it makes no sense. I couldn't care less. I could not care less. That makes sense. You know what? A cinematic masterpiece? Loud incorrect buzzer. No, literally nobody's saying that. Literally nobody is saying that. Maybe I'm saying that. Oh boy, blatant misogyny is my favorite. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Blatant misogyny. Oh my god. This movie is directed by a woman who retrospectively goes back, and what she says about it is that the whole thing is an allegory for the fear of losing one's virginity. Like, this movie totally has a feminist lens to it. Oh my god, my heart, my blood pressure. The thing about this that pisses me off so bad, and I see this on the internet all the time, I saw it so badly in my review of I Know What You Did Last Summer, people making up scenarios to get mad about. Who is calling Slumber Party Massacre a cinematic masterpiece? Look, I already said that I know that I do because I give it a perfect 5-star rating, but that's because of my own enjoyment. Like, I'm sure that there's plenty to pick apart concerning like technical aspects and whatever. I am just not the miserable bitch that's gonna be like, well, what about this plot hole? Plot hole? Why don't you fall into a hole? I don't understand. How could they not understand the context? Even in the review, they're like, he's just white men with drill symbolizing forced penetration. What about the blatant misogyny? Like, 2 + 2 is not, it's 5. Like, I have to stop. I gotta stop. This was directed by a woman? Did not see that coming, and now I'm having a Showgirls analysis moment. I haven't seen Showgirls, but what I think that they're referring to is that the movie comes off blatantly misogynistic because it has like the Carrie-style shower scene in the beginning. But like I said, the context, the producers coming in and shooting things for them if they didn't do it. Like, it's a very layered issue. I'm not saying that's right, but it is more complex than just like, oh, this woman director was a misogynist. We will conclude with more like stupid, dumb massacre of my time. I still have 2 movies left to get into. I cannot. Okay, The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. What the hell could people be negatively saying about The Thing? Oh no, not me being those people. Not me being like, how could anybody dislike this? I'm about to find out. Hey, I'm putting in the time. I'm doing the work. I'm doing the research so that I'm not those people, okay? All right, the most popular one I think is this one with 64 likes. It looks like the lower ratings of this movie, like if that's the highest one, then these are not popular reviews. I'd give The Thing a higher score, maybe even an amazing one if it weren't for the fact that this whole movie is definitely a not so subtle ripoff of the hit video game known as Among Us. The whole concept about people trying their hardest to figure out who the secret imposter has already been claimed by the geniuses at Innersloth. Stealing such idea is most sus in my definitive and final objective opinion. Shame on you, John Carpenter. Maybe the real imposter was you all along. Okay, and thank God that the most popular half-star review is literally a joke. All right, fine. I will read the most popular essay about this movie, but relax, okay, 47 likes. Okay, the first paragraph is literally just a synopsis. We don't need it. It's on Letterboxd. Then yeah, blah, 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 it's the second adaptation. I had very, very low expectations for this film considering how much I absolutely love The Thing from Another World, the original adaptation directed by Christian Nyby and produced by Howard Hawks. Today, John Carpenter's The Thing is considered to be a cult classic, but at the time of its original release, it was only moderately successful at the box office and received overwhelmingly negative reviews, and I can very easily understand why. In isolated Antarctica, oh my god, how much are you just gonna explain the plot? Blah, 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 explaining the plot. This is just fluff. The direction from Carpenter is not good. Very astute, so eloquent. The direction is not good, as he creates no tense atmosphere happening whatsoever, as well as not having full characterization either. The script is written to a poor standard by Bill Lancaster, as it is very weak in places, and there are scenes that make absolutely no sense. They did not need to be in the final edit. As a result, the pace of the film is very slow, and the duration did not need to be 109 minutes long. I love that there are all these generalizations that are not explained in the slightest. Just the direction is not good. The writing is weak. Such a long review to say absolutely fucking nothing. Boo. I don't even want to now I'm having to screenshot the whole thing. You know what? I do apologize. I am gonna leave out some of the parts of him like just explaining the plot. I'm not gonna do that. If I was there, I could have stopped it. None of you actually like this, right? This is just some big prank to confuse me, right? Again, they wrote more, but again, I'm not getting into that again. How does this have a 4.3 star rating? It's so fucking bad. I'm convinced only straight men love it. What? I could easily see somebody saying that about something like The Godfather. Hell, I would maybe even allow it for Fight Club, which is a movie that I like, by the way, but John Carpenter's The Thing? I made it 29 minutes in, there were no women and a bad dog. This movie is Satan's work. Is this modern feminism? Have we lost the plot? Our great-grandmothers literally fought and died to get us the right to vote, and this is the kind of shit we're on now. Like, our mothers fought for our bodily autonomy, the ability to open a credit card, and this is where we're at now? Oh, we've lost the plot. Fuck this movie, and I don't know why you would watch this when there's a much better version from 2011 that both have a heart. The plot was never there in the first place. 1 star for every woman. Yeah, like, yes, this movie fails the Bechdel test, but why don't we look at it from a critical feminist lens of, hey, maybe if they had a woman there, then all of this wouldn't have happened. Maybe let's give John Carpenter the benefit of the doubt, and maybe that's part of the point that he was making. Like, probably not, but given cultural, historical context, that absolutely is something that is true about the movie. Like, I just had no idea that that was something that people legitimately criticized the movie for. I had no idea. Not enough women. You know what? Maybe we've entered an era where the scales are starting to be balanced because men have this problem where they so rarely have the ability to watch things that are not catered to them. It's like the cultural phenomenon of all the men that refuse to go watch Barbie, like who loved to let you know that they did not go and watch Barbie. Maybe now women are like starting to be on that wavelength too, you know? They're like, okay, if it's not made for me, then fuck you. If I could wipe my ass with this movie, I would. Among Us ripoff, stupid crap. A flat, emotionless, and poorly written sci-fi film pretending to be a horror. The characters are so bland and unlikable, it becomes a chore to even feign interest in them. I can't believe I wasted an hour and 40 minutes on this when I could have rewatched Clueless instead. Emotionless is crazy. The emotions are very high. Like, it's a group of men. That is a given. Like, men are so emotional, especially in these kind of situations. Honestly, I don't know. The streaming app would buffer and not load the movie. Really stupid choice on John Carpenter's end. Poor directing idea. And this is why physical media till the day I die. And, too many women. We're done. We're done. Finally, we're going to Poltergeist, which historically has been my favorite horror movie of the 1980s. I love it to death. I don't know what it is, if it's a mixture of like nostalgia, just loving the family, relating to like the suburban family unit. I love Poltergeist so much. I always have. So we are ending on a doozy. Can't wait. But I love all these movies. Like, okay, so Friday the 13th is a 4 star. The Fog is a 3.5 star, okay? So is American Werewolf in London. The Shining and Evil Dead are both 4 star films. The Thing is 4.5 star. And then Slumber Party Massacre and Poltergeist are perfect films for me. And honestly, on a rewatch, a lot of these could be perfect ratings for me. So oh, whoa. All right, the most popular 1 star review, only 39 likes. The horror gods are on my side. My side, not yours. I'm certain little me attempted to watch this and got bored and turned it off. Now that I have more patience, I can see why. The beginning is boring, it takes so long for any thrilling spooks, any excitement. Would I have actually liked it back then if I stuck it out? Maybe. Probably not, because although I admired some of the filmmaking techniques and cinematography, I nearly fell asleep while watching this. I got so tired I almost had to sit down. Sit down. Were you not already sitting down? I also think I had already seen Scary Movie 2 beforehand. Well, since I didn't care much for this, I'm not excited for the 2 sequels I'll be watching next. Wish me luck. What in the hell does Scary Movie 2 have to do with this? Does it parody Poltergeist? I guess it must. I don't remember. Okay, that was boring. I'm sorry, but it was the most popular 1-star review. I had to do it. Ugh, some of the other top reviews are like, I don't get it. Is this a joke? Does anyone else think this is bad? Nah, fuck off. How does this film have so much hype? There's a reason I'm 28 and still haven't watched this until today. Trust your instincts. There was one scene, the mirror face scene, that I really thought was cool, but that's it. This was good for the special effects generally, but too much fucking strobe, too much fucking screaming, mom, daddy, and too much maternal emotion. I struggled to get the violins out for the perfect American family. It just does nothing for me. I'm angry. I can fucking tell. This is a drama based around a poltergeist. I don't agree that it should be featured anywhere as an example of a good horror film. It's a shit film. Why are you so mad? This is one of those things that's so baffling to me where I'm like, at least you have, I'm not gonna call it a healthy outlet for your anger, but at least you're like not punching walls. But this is just crazy. Like if you have this level of anger for a movie like Poltergeist, check yourself. Like, are you okay? I mean, maybe your life is amazing if you have this much space to get so angry at a movie. The only time that I reserve anger for films is when they are just like disastrously out of touch. Emerald Fennel, my #1 nemesis. I have come upon a lot of angry reviews. I get a lot of angry comments, and sometimes sometimes I'm a little bit naughty and I do respond to them because I'm probably so delusional for this, but I'm like, what if I say something silly, goofy, and they realize how crazy it is that they're like being this angry in my comments, especially with the new I Know What You Did Last Summer, like this ruined the entire franchise for me. Like sometimes I'll respond and I'll be like, it seems like you hold a lot of anger inside your body. Perhaps yoga. I'm aware I'm being a dick, but like I just don't appreciate that energy in my comment section. And so sometimes before just outright banishing them, I'll leave a silly little goofy reply. And if they cool off, then they can stick around. People are just generally unwell on the internet. I've come to learn. You know what? I actually don't know if we really had this on our bingo card today. I know this movie is a horror classic, but nowadays it's a shitty movie. The film aged badly. It was good for its time, but nowadays it's completely outdated. But it made me laugh. It's more comedy than horror. If it made you laugh, how are you only sitting at a half star? Oh my god, bless. Are we finally getting to an era of film where people are gonna stop saying it's outdated? We still are plagued by the people calling the movies boring, but you're welcome for not endlessly getting into that today. I was losing my mind about that in the 70s video, but this genuinely I think is the first one I've read out today about the movie aging badly. Are we finally out of those trenches? I hope so. And if I did read something out, I forgot. I've been recording this video for an hour and a half. This was a rewatch. I hadn't seen this in many years. I used to think this was scary. What happened? I guess I grew up. Definitely more Spielberg than Hooper. The self-awareness, and yet, Steven Spielberg, the director of this film, should be shot. Steven, I didn't say that. If any of you clip me out of context, I swear to God, in editing, I'm just gonna like plaster the review across my face so that I remain anonymous. Fuck this movie, fuck this shitty ass movie. I wish I could give it 0 stars. You actually can. Like, you actually don't have to give it a star rating. Do people not realize this? Nobody in this film is believable as a human being. I guess you didn't really grow up in like white suburban America. This is about as real as it gets, I promise you. Why are people so mad about like what a god-awful sentimental movie? It's like the other review, I didn't even get into the whole like too much maternal emotion. Oh, heaven forbid a woman move heaven and earth to retrieve her child. Are y'all nuts? Were you not hugged as children? Like, sorry, not to get that deep, not to clock you like that, but that's crazy. My mother loved me. I think I'll leave us with favorite actor was in fact the tree. This video is already so long, and I know that I'm stuck on this, but I still just cannot believe how many incredible classics came out just from 1980 to 1982. I know that my video doing the 70s was 43 minutes long, okay, that one was hefty, but this video might be longer than that one, and it's only like, it's like less than a third of the decade. The 80s is a whole other beast, like I said, and I feel a little bit of resistance to this because it is basic, but the 80s, I mean, it has to be my favorite decade of horror. The 2020s are looking really, really good, but that could just be recency bias. Jury is definitely still out on that one, okay? We're only halfway through. But goddamn, the 80s were magical, and I feel like this little series is just proving it. In the next installment, 83 to 85, we're gonna be covering Christine, Sleepaway Camp, Gremlins, A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Terminator, maybe The Toxic Avenger. Yeah, I'll throw it in there. What the hell? Silver Bullet, The Return of the Living Dead, Fright Night, The Stuff, and Demons. A lot of those are more underrated ones, so I hope that also hopefully inspires you to watch maybe one or two of those before the next installment of this comes out. Then 1986 to 89, we've got Maximum Overdrive, Chopping Mall, April Fool's Day, Night of the Creeps, Hellraiser, The Lost Boys, Slumber Party Massacre 2, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, They Live, Child's Play, and Pet Sematary. God, the 80s were a time. I guess I just didn't realize like how front heavy the 80s were and how iconic it was, because I feel like today this video was kind of the cream of the crop. But anyway, I need to stop. I need to go. Did you pull your hair out alongside me today? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, check out the other videos in this series if you haven't already. Check out all the rest of the horror content on this channel. There is literally something for everybody to enjoy, I promise you. I also have my second channel where I talk all the time about physical media. I take you on spooky vlogs, sometimes just regular travel vlogs, and I have a Patreon where, depending on which tier you join, you get a bonus video every single week, including over hour-long podcast episodes with my dad. We release one or two of those every single month. But more than anything, I just hope that you were kind of able to enjoy this video and that I see you in the next one. Bye!